We're gonna stay in K-pop to start the show off here because we had a EP drop. Don't fight the feeling from EXO dropping today, and only 5 tracks. Um, and EXO, similar to a couple of the other K-pop groups we've been talking about. I guess similar to all of them, a lot of members. All taking their turns, all getting their moments to shine, trying to have a very diverse sound, but still kind of in that K-pop mold. What'd you think of "Don't Fight the Feeling"?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about lots of SM entertainment acts at this point. All of Just about all of their major hitters have done something at this point. We did Shiny, Wavy, NCT Dream, and now we have EXO. And as you said, EXO, lots of members. I believe they're at uh, 9 right now,
Mhm.
originally 12. They're effectively NCT before NCT came out, and then NCT like took that to the extreme because there's like a fuck ton of people in NCT, as we all know. Um, and I actually thought this was kind of interesting because the way it was being talked about was that it's the first EXO group work since their last full length album in November 2019. And yet, if you look between November 2019 and today, there's a few subunits of EXO, again, NCT vibes there, but also like solo work. Five of the guys in EXO have released solo material. And like, I think about half of them have done their military service, with the last of them recently having started it. So I think they're kind of an interesting example of like a K-pop act that has been around a long time, debuting in I believe 2012, and now they're very much like into like that second or third act, whatever it is, because like you're operating post the fabled military service that can often be, or at least used to be, more of a final grace note for K-pop. So
Mhm.
listening to this, even though a few of the members still didn't record on this because they were actively doing their military service. Funny enough, the guys that just started it secretly recorded for this before they started their service. A lot to keep track of, but it didn't sound like anything was amiss to me. But I'm not the biggest EXO fan, so I think that those hardcore EXO fans are probably really excited for the next full length group once
Mhm.
everyone is totally out of military obligations and they can really
Sure.
all be together as one. But for like a holdover thing, a special album as it's being called, I think it still kind of does what it needs to do.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think I would guess I know the tracks on this that pop for you and I, and I think there's two real standouts for me, and then a couple that are a little more toned down and not necessarily my speed. But I really like the title track. I think that like growling bass line throughout the whole thing is like a really nice way to like kind of hold the track down. Then they bring in like the danciness around the chorus, which I
Hmm.
thought was really fun. And then No Matter really stood out to me. Just felt like a really groovy track. They're doing like a fast singing, potentially
Yeah,
like a rapping. Obviously not knowing the language, it's kind of hard to tell like the cadence of things, but just the way that the words sound, it's like this rapping
yeah,
cadence, which I thought worked really well on the track. What track stood out to you?
yeah. I thought No Matter was interesting. I think the beat really stood out to me, and in general, the first track, Don't Fight the Feeling, I really like that bounciness of
Mhm.
that EDM beat. The breakdown on the hook where you can hear a lot of the members all singing together. I thought that sounded really good. But in general, that's a K-pop banger.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of like the EPs I'm talking about, like the wavy one, the shiny one, there was like a really clear standout, like well done banger on all of these
Hmm.
releases. So SM seems to have a playbook they've been doing. Later on, just like on this EP, there are some slower ballad songs.
Yeah.
More the guys getting into their bag vocally, and I think that's, it depends if that's what you want to hear from them. I'm always more in tune to the banger stuff from K-pop, but in a sense, like everything else, like just like NCT Dream, which we just talked about recently, it's attempting to do a lot of different sounds, or at least a lot of different
Hmm.
types of songs, in a short runtime, which is always cool. Like I've always kind of impressed with the ambition a lot of these K-pop
Yeah.
releases have had of late.
Yeah, especially because even though they're, they're trying to make a very eclectic release, whatever it is, an EP or an LP. a lot of it's really competent, even if it's not necessarily like super interesting to you and I
Mhm.
when things are a little slower. We like I was saying, I think we both kind of prefer the bangers from K-pop, but yeah, I mean, it all still sounds pretty good, even if it's not
Yeah.
necessarily our cup of tea. Any last thoughts on EXO, or do you want to
Y-
hop over to the rap?
Yeah, well, I just had one last note when just looking up, more stuff about EXO lately. I was familiar with Baekhyun and Kai because they both were members of Super M, of course. And I did not know this until today, but Baekhyun's second EP, Delight, Delight, yes, was the first Korean solo release to sell 1 million copies in Korea since
Hmm,
2001, which is like a crazy stat. Because like when I
nice.
think of like soloists in K-pop, like even if Baekhyun's like the biggest and the most accomplished of the EXO guys, like I would think of some I don't know like G Dragon or something. Like there's other names I would have thought of first, but then I guess reading into it more, apparently Korean music, like albums in general, would not go platinum at all until like only about 5 years ago or something. So it's kind of interesting to see like how even over in Korea, where the music is obviously dominated for decades, like the commercial viability of it still has really increased of late. And obviously,
Yeah,
we know how much more global the music has gotten much more recently. So, uh, always interesting to check in on stuff like this.
yeah, for sure. And I've really been enjoying how we've been diving into this. Definitely, obviously a sound that just continues to grow in popularity.